Hey y'all, I was writing and there's an idea I've been working around, or that has been, I haven't even really been working around. It's something I haven't been able to get away from. Let's put it that way. Over the last couple days, and it keeps trying to insert itself into what I'm writing, but it doesn't really have a place there right now. So I thought maybe I'd make a video and talk about it, because one of the reasons I keep coming back to it, or I can't seem to leave it alone, is I haven't really heard anyone express it in the way that I've been thinking about it. And it really comes down to the idea that the ability to create wisdom, right? The ability to create like stored and shared knowledge has been responsible for the success of the human species, right? Like we have civilizations because at some point we figured out how to grow food, right? We went from being wandering nomadic, a wandering nomadic species, to being a species that could stay in one place because we were able to reliably grow food and therefore stay, right? And then all of the things that become civilization kind of build on the fact that we start staying in one place, right? But it's that understanding, it's that kind of shared knowledge. Right? We create this shared knowledge, and everything in our lives right now, like, is built on it. Everything around you is built on that thing, right? The reason that we are the dominant species on the planet is because we can do that. And in a way, like, what that means is that we don't have to wait 6 generations for the organism, the actual biological machine, to evolve, right? We can analyze and record and theorize and test and come up with answers, right? Come up with solutions. That's like why we are what we are. And I'm coming to the realization that the majority of kind of problems we're facing in some way come down to rejecting that, right? Like we're starting to reject our most foundational evolutionary benefit, right? Like we've evolved into a species that can do this, which allowed us to create civilizations, which allowed us to become the dominant species on the planet. It's created the world you live in. And we're starting to reject that. One of the biggest examples I can think of right now is the environment. Like, we have learned environmental science. We have built that knowledge over time, right? A little bit at a time. And we have combined different fields of knowledge, different disciplines, to get to the point where we can even, like, relatively accurately predict the weather at this point. And that is incredibly complicated, right? Part of the reason we're only relatively accurate, right, is because of how complicated it is. But if we look at, like, how good we are at it now versus even like 40 years ago, we're still making progress. We're still getting better, right? But somehow that stored knowledge, that creation of this well of knowledge, wisdom, yes, that says that if we continue doing what we're doing, we're actually going to affect the 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 environment on the planet to a degree that it will make human existence, if not unimaginably harder, impossible. Like it might make it impossible. Like it's very likely to make it impossible. Right? There's a lot of people out there who seem to think they're gonna like go into a bunker and it's gonna be okay. And it's when you make the environment incapable of supporting mammalian life, we're in real trouble. So that's one example, right? Of like this kind of, we're starting to, and it's a big easy one, right? It's a pretty easy one. But there's another one that I think is kind of as existentially frightening, and that is AI and what we're doing and claiming about AI. That process of building stored knowledge, shared wisdom, is so fundamental to the success of the human species and it is so connected to what we are as human beings. Yeah. It seems to me there are risks to attempting to automate that we haven't even begun to consider yet. Like we won't actually be able to consider them until the storm is there, right? Like that. Because what you're doing, part of what you're doing at that point, what we're doing now, the way that we're talking about AI, is that when we're going to this thing, this automation, right, that does not have a body, that does not have a consciousness, and be very clear, your biology is what produces your consciousness. You cannot separate those. You can attempt to, good luck. Good luck. And by trying to automate that, right, this ability to produce stored knowledge and shared wisdom, like you're separating it from us in a way that leaves it so it fundamentally doesn't serve us in the same way. Right? And then it's not able, like an AI, no matter how advanced we ever make it, is not going to have a human consciousness, right? We can get it to mimic that to a certain degree, I'm sure, but it's not ever going to actually have a human consciousness. And because it's not going to ever have like a biology. Like your consciousness is created, it is a biological creation, right? It is not the result of a soul. Sorry to tell you, it is a biological creation. The way that you experience reality is a result of the machine that carries your fucking body around, that carries your brain around. That machine feeds your brain all kinds of information, and your brain builds a picture that you call reality. And AI is never going to have that. And so this idea that we're starting now to start to act as if this automation is going to be able to produce any more stored knowledge that is wisdom is specious at best. And the other thing that I think is really important here is that all of the ways that we are being encouraged to reject this evolutionary benefit, right? This thing that is like one of the fundamental aspects of the human species. All of the ideas about rejecting that are in some way being pushed to support the structures, the beliefs, the way that we think of things that support power, right? So you talk about the environment, and that's really the reason we are not responding to the threat that we are now posing to the continued environment that can support mammalian, including human life, is power. It's money, right? It's wealth. People have gotten insanely wealthy on all of these systems remaining the way that they have been for 100 and some odd years. And so I think we should really think about that and think about it really in those terms, right? Like this ability to create stored knowledge and shared wisdom is fundamental to our survival and to our success as a species. And it's absolutely possible that rejecting that evolutionary benefit is actually an existential threat to the species, right? Because you take this thing, like we can do a thing that other species can't do. We can record observations, analyze them, theorize about what they say and what we're learning from them, and then test those theories, right? We can test those ideas. And then, based on that information, we can change our behavior. So we can actually shape our behavior to better respond to the environment on an ecological level, right? But we can actually also turn that around and look at what we have learned about the human animal, right? The human being, the behavior, what we are. You understand? And we can also start adapting the way that we approach our societies to fit that shared knowledge. And that, I think, is the actual threat that we're seeing power respond to. Because the way that we have conceived of civilizations until now has been, like, even the way that we measure what a civilization is, even the way that we measure what a society is, like it starts with the concept of the institutions, right? The institutions of power. That's how we define what the eras are and what those civilizations were. They were all human. All of them were human. Now, how they organize themselves have a lot of similarities. They also have differences, right? So there's variation. But I think the way that we have even like thought about the concept of civilization, our ability to build shared knowledge, or our ability to build stores of knowledge and shared wisdom, is actually starting to threaten that. And I think that's why power is responding this way now. Because we're starting to get to the point where we're understanding that we are not those institutions, right? That, like, so you say, I'm an American. Well, what is that? That's actually a legal designation, and that's kind of all it is, right? Some shared cultural stuff, some maybe shared political ideas, right? But at the same time, like, they're incredibly varied too. The amount of variation that happens in that, just that one designation, right? You say American. The amount of variation within there is equal to the amount of variation that there is in the human species. You know, we're human beings first. And I think that that's part of what this project, all these, now tens of thousands of years of building stored knowledge and shared wisdom is showing us. And I think that means that these institutions are under an existential threat they've never really had to face before, because we are starting to see ourselves as not primarily identified by what they tell us that we are. And so I feel like that's worth saying. And I feel like it's worth considering. Maybe not. Maybe you don't feel that way. But I haven't been able to leave it alone. It's been like 4 or 5 days now. I haven't been able to leave it alone. And so I thought I'd just, come here and talk about it, and ask you guys if it passed the smell test. Does it sound like, am I just chasing around loose threads in my own mind? So that's about it. I hope y'all are having a good day.